A 22-year-old married woman was arrested for the death of her newborn baby. For 9 months, she hid her pregnancy from everyone around her. There were no hospital visits, no medical records. Not even her own family knew she was pregnant. But detectives soon realized this was not a moment of panic, but a deliberate act. Her decision had been shaped by something she believed deeply. And when that motive finally came out, it revealed something far more disturbing than anyone had expected. This is the case of secrecy, manipulation, and a digital deception that ended 3 lives. January 5th, 2021, Kaluvathukal, Kerala, India. A 55-year-old, Sudarshan Pillai, stepped outside his house after hearing a faint, continuous cry coming from behind his home near the rubber plantation inside the compound. At first, he assumed it was a stray animal. The sound, however, did not stop. When he walked closer and moved aside a pile of dry leaves near the compound wall, he found a newborn baby boy lying underneath. The umbilical cord was still attached. The infant was alive, but extremely weak. Pillai immediately alerted others in the house, and along with his son-in-law Vishnu, rushed the baby to a nearby hospital for treatment. Despite medical efforts, the newborn did not survive the day. Police were informed soon after the child's death. Officers arrived at the scene and secured the area to prevent contamination. They examined the exact location where the baby had been found. There were no footprints or other signs in the soil that suggested the infant had been brought from a distant place. The umbilical cord was still fresh and untreated, indicating a very recent delivery. Based on these observations, investigators concluded that the childbirth had most likely occurred in the nearby area. Police widened the search and began visiting nearby houses. They asked whether anyone had shown signs of pregnancy or complained of severe pain the previous night. At the same time, the baby's body was sent for post-mortem. Doctors confirmed the infant had been born alive and had no major injuries. The death was caused by exposure and lack of immediate medical care. This meant the case was not just about hiding a birth, but about abandonment that led to death. With no immediate confession and no obvious suspect, investigators turned to forensic science. They preserved the umbilical cord and other biological samples and developed a DNA profile of the newborn. Police collected DNA samples from women of childbearing age, living nearby, following legal procedures and consent requirements. They also checked hospital records to see if any woman in the area had recently delivered. None had. Officers observed women living nearby for physical signs of recent childbirth while waiting for laboratory results. Weeks later, the DNA report returned. It matched a woman who lived very close to where the baby had been found. Her name was Reshma. She was 22 years old and wife of Vishnu. They already had 1 child together. Reshma and Vishnu were living in her parents' family home in Kaluvathukal. The man who found the baby, Sudarshan Pillai, was her father. When police called her in for questioning again, the tone was different. This was no longer routine inquiry. They placed the DNA findings before her. The scientific evidence left little room for denial. During sustained interrogation, Reshma admitted that she had delivered the baby late at night in the bathroom. There was no medical assistance, no hospital visit. She managed the delivery alone. After the delivery, she carried the newborn outside and placed him under the dry leaves, near the compound wall, only a short distance from the house. She had hidden the pregnancy for 9 months by wearing loose clothing and body-shaping garments. She avoided close interaction with neighbors. Even her husband and other family members were not aware of her pregnancy. Investigators asked why she would conceal something so significant. That was when a new layer of the case emerged. During questioning, Reshma told police that she had been involved in a relationship through Facebook. She said she had been communicating with a man who introduced himself as a Nanthu. According to her statement, he had made it clear that he would not accept her if she had a second child. She claimed he had pressured her emotionally and insisted that she should not keep the baby. She told investigators that she feared losing him. At one point, she even traveled to Varkala, hoping to meet a Nanthu in person, after he suggested they could meet there. However, the meeting never took place, and she returned home without seeing him. Police did not accept that explanation at face value. They seized her phone and began a detailed digital analysis, examining the Facebook profile, chat history, and the phone number linked to the account. The profile details appeared suspicious, and the SIM card connected to it was registered locally in Kerala. When officers pulled the subscriber details and examined call records, the number did not lead to any man named Ananthu. Instead, the digital trail pointed back to two young women, known to Reshma: Arya, her brother-in-law's wife, and Grishma, her niece. When police summoned Arya and Grishma for questioning about the SIM registration and the online impersonation, events took another tragic turn. Before full interrogation could proceed, Arya and Grishma went missing. Search efforts began, and within days, their bodies were recovered from Thikara River. Authorities confirmed that both had died by suicide. They had left behind suicide notes, expressing guilt and admitting to creating fake ID to prank Reshma. They wrote that hurting anyone was never their intention, and that the situation had gotten out of control. One note included a line saying something to the effect of, "We only meant it as a joke. We didn't know it would end like this." With Arya and Grishma dead, investigators could no longer question them further. Instead, they relied on technical evidence, SIM registration documents, call detail records, and extracted chat histories to establish how the fake profile had been created and operated. The messages, investigators believed, played a role in shaping Reshma's decisions during her pregnancy. Police reconstructed the sequence of events based on her statement and forensic findings. She had delivered the baby inside the house late at night. No medical help was sought. After the delivery, she carried the newborn outside and left him near the compound wall under dry leaves. By morning, the child was found by her father and taken to hospital, where he later died. Once the investigation was complete, police filed a charge sheet against Reshma. She was charged under provisions of the Indian Penal Code related to concealment of birth and abandonment leading to death. The case then moved into the trial stage. In court, the prosecution relied heavily on scientific evidence, DNA confirmation, medical findings, and digital records. The defense focused on her mental and emotional condition. They argued that she was under psychological stress and had been influenced by the online deception. However, the court found no medical evidence to prove that she was suffering from a mental condition that impaired her ability to understand her actions. The judges held that concealment of the pregnancy for 9 months, delivering the baby alone, and the deliberate abandonment showed awareness and conscious decision-making, not legal incapacity. Reshma was found guilty under Section 302 for murder and Section 317 for abandonment of a child under the Indian Penal Code. She was sentenced to life imprisonment by the Sessions Court. A newborn lost his life within hours of being born. 2 young women later died by suicide after their involvement in the fake identity was exposed. What began as secrecy inside a home ended in 3 deaths and a life sentence. There were no weapons, no elaborate plots. Only secrecy, deception, and a chain of careless acts. A fake profile and a few careless messages on social media did not stay online. They influenced real emotions and real decisions. What may have begun as a prank carried consequences far beyond a screen. The court closed the case, but the larger lesson remains. Careless actions, whether offline or online, can ripple far beyond what anyone expects. And sometimes those ripples cannot be undone. If you found this case important and thought-provoking, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video to support more detailed, fact-based stories like this. Thanks for watching.